Race 2, round 2, year 2. Welcome everybody. This is the Oschersleben Motorsport Arena for the second race of the weekend for the Prototype Cup Germany, the second round of the season. We had the first in Hockenheim at the end of April and is the second year of this championship. A wonderfully successful championship organised by the ADAC in association with Creventic. Air conditions, air temperature 22.4, the track at 36.3 means conditions are perfect. We're part of the DTM package this weekend and it is a record-breaking crowd here at the Oschersleben Motorsport Arena. I tried to walk through the paddock earlier, that was unsuccessful. You can see everybody is enjoying the sunshine here and they have been enjoying the roar of these LMP3 cars as they've circulated around this 3.667 kilometre track. You can see the grid is lined up and we will be ready to go in less than 4 minutes. Yesterday, we saw Oscar Tunyo and Julian Apostolos take a win, and it was their second win of the season in the JVO Racing Duqueine D08. And they are looking very strong indeed as they jump to the top of the point standings. But that man there, Valentino Catalano, if you didn't see his qualifying lap this morning, I'd recommend you check it out because it was epic. He's the youngest driver in the field and he hustled that car around the circuit, the DKR Engineering Duqueine D08. And he absolutely demolished the rest of the field. Xavier Loveras, we welcome him to the field of the Prototype Cup Germany in the JVO racing car for this event, his debut event. He's a 23-year-old Spanish driver and it's great to have him here. He has done a wonderful job qualifying also on the front row ahead of Julian Apostolos. So the driver who won yesterday starts this race today from third place. Marcus Pommer and Gary Hauser are in the Racing Experience Duqueine and it was Gary Hauser who did all the qualifying. They finished second yesterday. They start fourth today and they are championship contenders on account of their win in the second race of the opening round of the season at the Hockenheim Ring. It is very close indeed. It's a tough one to call. This circuit, not famous for its overtaking opportunities. As we look at Martin Andersson, it has been great to see him in the mighty LMP3 car. Martin Andersson, also in the Duqueine, there's a bit of a theme running there, has been very successful as he's got to grips. We've seen him improve bit by bit by bit. There's a Ginetta in the hands of Danny Sufi. There are 3 Ginettas in the field, 3 of 6 that have been built by Ginetta. And it is something of a record. We've got 3 different LMP3 brands on the championship series this year. No other LMP3 series has that in 2023. We have 8 Duqueines, clearly the weapon of choice by many of the teams, 3 Ginettas, and also 4 Ligier cars. So it is, though, Duqueine that locks out the top 5 on the grid with Danny Sufi in the Ginetta, who is the highest scoring Ginetta in the grid at the moment. There's Lucas Moron for BHK Motorsport, the British team, and great to have Lucas Moron on the grid here as part of the LMP3 series here this weekend. So the instruction is being given to start the engines and soon the cars will be getting ready to pull away on their formation lap. Jan Marszałkowski along with it is Marco Kasich, brain fade. They are a potent team as well. Great to have them in the MRS GT Racing Duqueine Ligier. And they are a very fast combination indeed. Marszałkowski and Kasich not really enjoying as much speed as they'd hoped for in qualifying, but getting better and better as each race progresses. Both of those drivers new to the world of LMP3 racing, so learning very much on the job. So we did see Lucas Moron in the number 35 car. He's taken over the running of that from Elio Sperandio, who we saw this yesterday's race, who came home in 9th place. But it is for this Lucas Moron, who's in the seat of that car. The formation lap starts, the ground shakes as this field of LMP3 cars pull away from the grid, and the rumble of the mighty Nissan engines, 5.6 litres generating 455 brake horsepower, shakes the ground and thoroughly entertains the audience. Let's take a look at the starting grid, and it's Valentino Catalano who starts on pole position with Xavier Lavras alongside, sharing with Gabriela Julkova. What a great combination that is. Julian Apotelos and Gary Hauser occupying row 2. Row 3, Martin Anderson and Danny Sufi, both solo pilots, so no driver change for them. And then Konstantin Skoll and Lucas Moron taking over from Elio Sperandio. Jan Marszalkowski and Gustav Kirila are on the next row ahead of Max Hacklander and Mark van der Snel, part of a father-son combination in the number 99 car. Then Matthias Luton and Courtney Crone on row 7. Then bringing up the rear, Wolfgang Peyer along with Kevin Rorscheit. They are both bronze category drivers, so very much in the trophy championship. The instruction has now been given to grid up for these mighty monsters. We are at the Oschersleben Motorsport Arena, 3.667 kilometers around, 2.27 miles, 14 turns, 7 to the left and 7 to the right. You can see the points there. Gary Hauser and Marcus Pommer just 1 point off championship leaders. Julian Apotelos and Oscar Tunyo. So the cars going side by side now as we head out onto the pit straight. As already mentioned, overtaking opportunities are few and far between. The best is probably at the end of the pit straight into turn 1, but it is a tight corner. The hotel turn 2 is a tough, slippery corner that comes straight after the pit straight and has been the scene of many an accident. Keep an eye on the 77 car of Valentino Catalano. He has been rapid today. We get ready. This is race 4 of a 12-race season for the Prototype Cup Germany, and we are go. Heading down the straight, looks like Lavras has just about got a nose in head and drops in front of Valentino Catalano. So a great start from Xavier Lavras as the fields head into the turn 1. But there's a car that's gone straight on into the gravel trap. Now, hopefully they can keep that going. Is that Van der Snel? It looked as though it might have been Mark van der Snel. So rest of the cars are going on through, but we'll keep an eye on that. Hopefully we won't need a safety car, but it's Xavier Lavras who leads Valentin Catalano and Julian Apotelos in 3rd place. Here come the rest of the pack. The roar absolutely shaking the ground as they head around the hotel turn and out into the rest of the circuit across the mighty chicane. And that's a camera in one of our bollards, and it looks to me as though one of the cars may have just attacked one of our cameras. We had a camera in the bollard on the chicane, and it looks as though that camera might have gone missing. So it is Valentino Catalano who's dropped to 2nd place from his pole position start. Xavier Lavras is the leader of this race. We did mention the chicane briefly. We had a camera in the bollard. I have a feeling the camera might have been scattered there, but we'll keep an eye on that. Right, as they cross the line, confirmation. Xavier Lavras, Catalano, Apotelos. Gary Hauser, though, under incredible pressure from Lucas Moron. He didn't race yesterday, and it was just Elias Sperandio on his own in the seat, but good to have Lucas back here. But in turn, Danny Sufi, there's a rapid driver. We got to know him last year, the driver from the USA, who is very quick indeed for Conrad Motorsport. He's been learning this in a steep learning curve. And there's a car, and it looks like it's on fire. It's the number 5 car. It's Xavier Lavras, the driver that was leading the race. He's out of the car. Car's on fire. He's looking for a fire extinguisher, so high drama as our race leader disappears literally in a cloud of smoke. As expected, the safety car is out. But a dramatic exit for our race leader, Xavier Lavras, in the JVO Racing Duqueine D08. And a lot of smoke there as that car looked like potentially maybe an engine blow-up that's caused a fire. And it will be Gabriela Julkova who will not get a run this afternoon because that car is not going anywhere. It is a timed race, 55 minutes. With the safety car out, the clock continues to run. But lots of drama on that opening lap. And I think it was Courtney Crone was the driver that might have gone straight on at turn 1, because she has dropped to the back of the pack as well. But that car there, pleased to say, it looks like, has the fire been extinguished? I don't know, maybe have another look. It's going to take us a few minutes to clear this one up, but the number 5 car disappearing in a big cloud of smoke. Xavier Loveras, after such a great qualifying, and then that start where he beat our pole sitter into turn 1, it's all come to nothing as he is parked up at the side of the track. And there's our camera, was installed in the bollard, currently being pushed around by Gustav Kirilla. And I think our our production director will not be impressed about that. So we saw the camera disappearing at one point, and the number 8 BWT Muka Motorsport Duquesne is now currently pushing that around. And on a more serious note, they will need to remove that bollard. Now, how he's going to go about doing that, it might be that he has to actually visit the pits, because you cannot race, surely, with that bollard wrapped around the front of the car. Some great shots here at Oschersleben. We're taking another look at the start. Valentino Catalano, he looked good. They were running side by side, but Xavier Loveras, what a great start he made, and got the jump into turn 1. That gave him the inside line as they headed up into the hotel turn 2. And there was 2 cars that got together. It was Courtney Crone and Mark van der Snel, who are the 2 cars that got together and resulted in that moment into the gravel trap. So both cars getting involved. In fact, I think Matthias Luton involved there as well. So Matthias Luton, the reigning trophy champion, and in fact, it was Luton and van der Snel. I don't think Courtney Crone, yeah, she was there as well. So a real mess with 3 cars involved on that opening corner. We did tell you it was a tricky corner. And this is the moment, well, the camera is in the middle bollard. And, well, he took both of them out for good measure. There's the remnants of our camera hanging out to the bollard, and wraps around the rest of the car. And actually, the octopus is left in the track. The other bollard is the one that is stuck to the front of the number 8 Gustavo Kirilla car. But funnily enough, I was having a conversation with our television director just a few moments ago, saying how wonderful the camera is, and we were really chuffed it has survived this weekend. I think I may have spoken just a little too soon as we look at a replay of Xavier Loveras extinguishing the flames on the JVO Racing Duquesne D08. We are behind the safety car and the JVO racing team. There's Oscar Tunyo. I don't know what he's laughing about. Well, there's one less person to challenge, I guess. There's Oscar Tunyo smiling away there with the rest of the team. But Gabriela Julkova also in that garage. And she's going to have an early bath today, as indeed is her co-driver, Xavier Loveras. It was his debut in Prototype Cup Germany this weekend. 23-year-old Spanish driver, second in the 2023 Asian Le Mans LMP3 series. Has also got a lot of GT4 experience in GT4 Europe. He's also come up through Formula 4 Spain, Euro Formula Open. Very quick. He was quick in testing, and he finished in 6th place yesterday, but it is going to be a non-finish today. It looks like they've managed to drag that car to safety, and we have notification the safety car will be in on this lap and will be back under racing. So our pole sitter retakes the lead of the race. Valentino Catalano, the youngest driver in the race, but he is fearless, and watching him rattling over the chicane this morning was something to behold. Julien Apotelos, a very strong driver, in 2nd place ahead of Gary Hauser, who is also part of a potent combination. Lucas Moron there as well, as is Danny Sufi and Martin Anderson. We cross the line to receive the green flag, and we are back under racing conditions out towards the hotel turn. And Lucas Moron just having a little look at Gary Hauser. He looks to the outside. He makes it more than a look because he's got the inside line. He hangs Hauser out to dry. Sufi comes through on his shirt tails too. And suddenly the car is relegated down to position. So some great moves there into the hotel turn. It's Catalano leading the way though. He was unchallenged into that corner. Then Julien Apotelos, Then Lucas Moron after that great run into the corner ahead of Danny Soufi and the relegated Gary Hauser. Martin Anderson at the end of that queue along with Maximilian Hacklander. Maximilian Hacklander had a spin this morning in qualifying, bringing out the red flags, and it was actually a broken track rod on the car that caused him to spin. It certainly wasn't a mistake on his part, but the top 7 cars just breaking away a little from Gustav Kirilla in the number 8 car. So here comes Valentino Catalano showing that incredible pace in qualifying this morning. Julian Apostolos not letting him get away and out onto the pit straight. These cars all about aerodynamics and picking up the slipstream, critical, overtaking, a really difficult job. Number 8 car has now shed its cone, so how it managed to lose that I'm not entirely sure, but it is coneless, which is good news for all of us. But Valentino Catalano, well, he just needs to keep it on the racing line and he'll keep the cars behind. That's Wolfgang Peyer, who shares with Kevin Rorscheit, and Kevin Rorscheit learning again on a steep learning curve. Now he's stuck on the track there. That looks like it's on the exit of turn 14, so that's a tough place to be stuck, and he's across the track. We'll have a look at a replay at how he got there. Just got out wide as Van der Snel was coming through. Not sure if there was any contact or not, but I hope he's not going to be stranded there. The yellow flags will be waving. He's still out there on the exit of turn 14. And that is going to be a code brown moment as the rest of the field come round there. He's got it rolling again, and we can see from the replay. So he then turns it around across, broadside across the track, and he is now moving again. We've had confirmation. There's that Danny Soufi going very wide, picking up a bit of dirt. He would have got the tyres a little bit soiled doing that. That would have not done his traction any favours at all. Our leader, Valentino Catalano, continues. Breaks the timing beam ahead of Julian Apostolos, and a gap of over a second now. So Catalano continuing with the pace that he showed in quali this morning. Apostolos next, then Lucas Moron after that great move past Gary Hauser. Danny Soufi also following through in his wake. And Hauser down to 5th place, rounding out the top 5. The ADAC drone is working overtime today as it follows these cars around. Some phenomenal lap times of 122.899. We've had DTM here today, and the lap times that has been registered by these LMP3 cars quicker than the DTM cars around the Oschersleben Motorsport Arena. Apart from the noise, the speed is spectacular as well. This championship just in its 2nd year as we look down at the chicane. Now the chicane has caught many drivers out. A lot of drivers needing to cut across the chicane in order to maximise the lap time. But so many drivers say that it is a scary moment because the car gets launched, and unless you get it absolutely right, you're going to find yourself pointing in the wrong direction. So the chicane curbs just getting the cars airborne, and we've seen so many cars getting it wrong this weekend when they hit that chicane but not entirely correctly, and the car just flips around, the back end overtakes the front, and it's game over. And it takes a lot of courage and a lot of skill to straight line that chicane, and it's Valentino Catalano who has been the driver that has mastered it best here at the Oschersleben Motorsport Arena this weekend. There is Catalano in the orange and black number 77 DKR Engineering Duquesne, and Julian Apostolos now having just dropped back a little. 1.353 was the gap last time. Now looks like there's a challenge for position. 3rd place Lucas Moron coming under increasing pressure from Danny Soufi. He's a driver who had very little racing experience prior to joining the LMP3 category, and he comes from Austin, Texas, and he has taken to it like the proverbial duck to water. He did a bit of drifting in the MX-5 series in America prior to this, but that's not really the kind of training for LMP3 that you'd expect. He's jumped into one of these cars, shows so much raw and natural talent, and he's now challenging for the last of those podium positions. We saw him in last year's championship, and he is just getting better and better with every round. He's learning the Conrad Motorsport car, and of course with a mentor like Franz Conrad, a legend in motorsport, it is only going to get better and better, isn't it? Along the pit straight they come into turn 1, and Valentino Catalano continues to stretch his legs, 1.776 over Julian Apotelos, who really needs to pick up points. He has finished on the podium in every race this year so far, 2 firsts and a third. A second place would do just nicely to extend his position at the top of the points. Lucas Moron now looking very much under pressure from Danny Sufi. They come out of Hasseröder, which is turn 3, out towards turn 4. And Moron knows that all he needs to do is pretty well keep the car on the racing line through this section, because turns 4, 5, 6 and 7 are very narrow. Overtaking not easy. Our triple bollard chicane is down to 1 bollard sans camera, but that's okay. The car's still bumping over those curbs and maximising that part of the track. This is a fascinating battle. The last of the podium places, Lucas Moron, Danny Sufi, and that's our leader just lapping the number 12 car. But closing back in, having been outfoxed in the traffic in 5th place, closing in on Danny Sufi is Gary Hauser. And Hauser's getting into the territory that if he makes a move and it doesn't stick, he could find himself relegated a position, much like what happened to Gary Hauser when he was demoted. The back-marking number 12 car just getting in the way. Now, car 99, you can see there, drive-through penalty for causing a collision. That's Mark van der Snel. We saw that collision early on, so our race director has deemed him to be responsible. Look at Danny Sufi trying everything. A smoke as the brakes are locked on the car. But Danny Sufi now putting the pressure onto Lucas Moron. He's impatient to get past, but Lucas Moron just keeping that car exactly where he needs to be to stop Danny Sufi from getting past. This race, many of the cars will have 2 drivers. There is a pit window that will open in about 7 minutes' time. It's a 10-minute pit window, and during that period, every car will need to visit the pits for a mandatory stop. Those that have 2 drivers will have a specific time they have to be stationary for, and those that have single drivers will have another time they have to be stationary for, a minimum pit stop time, as we look at Mark van der Snel serving his drive-through penalty. Mark, along with his son Max, who will be taking the seat of that car in the second stint of this race. The drivers are father-son combination. They work so well together, really enthusiastic. They are loving their time in Prototype Cup Germany. I think that Lucas Moron is not really loving his time in 3rd place at the moment, because he does look to be struggling a bit after that great move into 3rd place to have Danny Sufi just tucked up, champing at the bit, trying to get past the number 35 car. Gary Hauser, he wants revenge for that move early on in the race, and he'd love to get past before he hands the car over to Marcus Pommer, and they continue on their way. Car 35 is our 3rd place car, and you look at the background, Martin Anderson and Maximilian Hacklander also closing in. Of course, Max Hacklander in a Conrad Motorsport car as well, easily confused, the green and black cars, well, at least I am, but it's Sufi who is the leading of the Conrad Motorsport cars. Of course, Max Hacklander, after that incident that brought out the red flags in quali this morning, starting further back than he would have liked. There is the number 8 car of Gustavo Kirilla, and it was looking to see that was Konstantin Skoll, who elbows his way past, and hasn't registered on our timing screen yet, but it has now. So Konstantin Skoll finding a route past into that 8th place. Along the pit straight they come once again, and Lucas Moron perhaps just breaking a little bit clearer of Danny Sufi, because Danny Sufi, having been the hunter, has now the hunted. He's no longer attacking, he's certainly defending. Gary Hauser looking very eager to potentially take that place back, and that allows Lucas Moron off the hook a little bit, allows him to stretch his legs in that number 35 car that he shares with Elias Sparandio, the very rapid young Swiss driver. So that is the car in 5th place. Gary Hauser. Ahead of him, Danny Sufi in number 2. It's like a game of chess, trying to outwit the car in front, trying to put the pressure on, trying to force them into a mistake, trying to push them across that chicane so they miss the point just a little bit and the car spins around. You can see how much of the track the cars use. You occasionally see plumes of dust being thrown up into the air as they run a little wide. And that is the drivers just pushing the limits of the car. You saw Danny Sufi there just exploring how far he can go in the Conrad Motorsport Ginetta, a very rapid car indeed. So it's Catalano from Apotelos, Lucas Moron, Danny Sufi, Gary Hauser, Martin Anderson at the back in the blue and white car, then Maxi Hacklander, Konstantin Skol, who we saw getting past Gustav Kirila, then Marco Kasich back in 10th place. We had him listed as Jan Marszałkowski earlier, but it's Kasich who starts in the driving seat of that car. The Canadian driver who has come from open wheel racing, absolutely loving his time in Germany. He says, I love the German tracks, and he's proving that as he races in the Prototype Cup Germany. Matthias Luton in 11th after early drama, and Mark van der Snel in 12th after that drive-through penalty. Wolfgang Peyer and Courtney Crone bringing up the rear, and of course we've lost Xavier Loveras as a result of that fire at the beginning of the race. So very much as you were at the moment, fastest man on the track with a 1:20.893 is Valentino Catalano. His gap over second place Julian Apotelos is 2.22, at least it was last time they crossed the line. He appears to be extending that with every lap. I think Julian Apotelos, although he'd love to stand on the top step, would be very happy to stretch his championship lead with the points that come from second place. Across the line we come once again. 2.397 is now the gap between first and second. Then Lucas Moron, then Danny Sufi. Moron at the top of this queue, Danny Sufi in the middle, the meat in the sandwich, looking more and more vulnerable to Gary Hauser as the race goes on. Then Martin Anderson, a little back from them, about 1.87 seconds. You saw the drone across the top of your picture. This is the view you get from the drone. It's a pretty quick drone. They've beefed it up for 2023, but even our drone can't keep up with these LMP3 cars as we fly over the lovely lake that is in the middle of this Oschersleben Motorsport Arena, complete with geese and ducks that reside there even during a race event. So you can see the progress there. Lucas Moron up 5 places at the start. That really was a good start, wasn't it? And Max Hacklander, well, we always knew he was going to be good, up in 7th place. So those are 2 biggest place winners, and they have made really good progress. So Lucas Moron up those 5 places into 3rd place. Now the question is, has he taken anything too much out of the tyres? Because tyre degradation always an issue. That remains to be seen, because there's still 34 minutes remaining of this race. Certainly no issues at the moment as Lucas Moron just breaks clear in that 3rd place. And in a few moments, in about a minute or so by my calculation, the pit window will be opening. Now the drivers will need to visit the pit during that 10-minute pit window. There is a minimum pit stop time of 85 seconds, but depending on the FIA grading of the driver, and also depending on how many drivers are in the seat of the car, will depend on what that minimum pit stop time is. And Gary Hauser getting it all wrong there. He dropped right back, went very deep into the corner, falling back a little bit into the clutches of Martin Anderson. That's released Danny Sufi to get on back after Lucas Moron. So a bit of a gift there for Danny Sufi. The heat is off a little bit for Gary Hauser at the moment, but I'm sure he will come back shortly. So every driver, as we look to see the pit window is open, has a category awarded by the FIA. We have silver, gold, and bronze drivers, the gold being the top level, silver, many of these drivers here are silver drivers, and bronze, more of the kind of pro-am drivers. Depending on what category there are will depend on how many extra seconds are added to their minimum pit stop time. So 2 silver drivers have an additional 20 seconds added to their pit stop time. Talking to Marco Kasich and Jan Marszałkowski this morning, there was a misunderstanding over what their minimum pit stop time should be, and that resulted in them cutting the stop too short, and they got a drive-through penalty, which pretty well ruined their day yesterday. There is our race leader. There is that chicane. Look at the way he attacks that chicane. You need to get that right. We have seen so many people get that wrong and trip up. There is Mark van der Snel, and ahead of him, well, that is Julian Apostolos, who has lapped Mark van der Snel. And so into the lap traffic already. Martin Anderson now running very much on his own in 4th place, because Danny Sufi is into the pits for his mandatory stop and driver change, or a mandatory stop in his case, no driver change. Gustav Kirila is also in, and he is handing over to Nico Gerler. We're going to take another look at the car that hit the bollards. You can see it was contact with the number 3 car that forced him into that position. It was Konstantin Skol who was driving the car behind, and then the octopus that is, or was, our track camera goes off, and there is the other of the bollards that was caught up in the Gustavo Kirila car. Well, we say farewell, camera, you have served us well, but your time is now up. So it's trying to weave to get rid of that bollard caught under the car. So he's into the pitch. You can see the clock ticking down. For some of these drivers, you will see them go beyond what is their minimum pit stop time. There we are. Farewell, camera. You have served us well all weekend. I think we might need a new one for the next round at Zandvoort. But the time's now going into the plus. This is the additional handicap time that is awarded to the drivers, depending on whether they're a single driver or what grading they are. So Danny Sufi, he is a silver driver and he's solo. So that means that he has an addition of 25 seconds to his pit stop time. You can see he's done that. It says plus 25 now, and then he exits the pits. Hopefully, all within the minimum time from pit entry to pit exit. Valentino Catalano has an empty track in front of him. He is in no hurry whatsoever to hand over to Robin Rogowski. The way he's been hustling that car this weekend, I should think the team will probably want to keep him out quite late into the window. Other drivers who have changed is Julian Apostolos, who's handing over to Oscar Tunyo in the number 6 car. That promotes Lucas Maron up into 2nd place and Martin Anderson up into 3rd. But of course, they too will need to make a stop before the pit window opens. It remains open for another 6 3/4 minutes. And it's still Valentino Catalano with a monstrous 16.3 second gap over Martin Anderson. But of course, he will need to pit, as indeed will Martin Anderson. The green P means the drivers have pitted and rejoined. Look at that, straddling the bonnet, a bit of a wash and a clean for the car. Make sure you can see out of the window. And the number 12 car, which was being driven by Wolfgang Peyer, now handed over to Kevin Rorscheit. And as 2 bronze drivers, their handicap is that they don't have a handicap, so they will have to. They will not have to stop for any longer than necessary. They will be on the absolute minimum pit stop time, so that will advantage them as 2 bronze rated drivers. It sounds complicated, but it's a great way of leveling up the field as we have different categories of drivers in the cars. The 99 car continues on his way. That is Mark van der Snel, still yet to make a pit stop as represented by the grey P. I expect that Max van der Snel, his son, will be in very, very soon. Lucas Moron into the pits, getting ready to hand over to Elias Sparandio. Now, yesterday, Elias Sparandio was the sole driver of the number 35 car. We are not expecting Moron to stay in the car for the 2nd stint. We will get confirmation of that surely in a bit. But certainly good to see Lucas Moron on it today, even though he didn't take part yesterday. Our race leader continuing still, 18.1 seconds to the good of Martin Anderson, is Valentino Catalano in the number 77. DKR Engineering, the Luxembourg team. The Duquesne doing all that it needs to do. He's going to have to visit, though, within the next 4.5 minutes or so. And it's not going to be on this lap as he stays out another lap. And I just think he is going to leave it till the end of the pit window. You can see Maxi Hacklander now also into the pits, handing over to Sebastian von Gartzen. And the clock ticks away there. Lucas Maron, now he looks like he's been in the pits for a long time. You can see the clock ticking away there. That is a lot more than he needed. A 60-second additional stop for Lucas Maron. And that's the reason they've had problems getting the car away, whether it's Sperandio at the wheel. And it looks like they haven't been able to start it. It looks like they got the jump leads out. So Lucas Maron, I think he might be staying in the car, you know. I think Elio Sperandio maybe not taking the seat, but whichever way, the car is not going anywhere. The number 35 car stationary in the pits. This is disastrous. Having showed so strongly, running as high as third place. Now the jump leads are out. They're trying to restart that car, and it doesn't look as though it's going anywhere. Another driver, Konstantin Skol, Dino Steiner, that is in the gravel trap. Konstantin Skol is the driver at the wheel, the ADAC Motorsport Ligier. That is going to bring out a safety car. Surely that is the case. It's out on the exit of turn 3 towards turn 4. The car is smoking, and he's had a moment. Dino Steiner, no, Konstantin Skol, I beg your pardon, who hasn't handed over to Dino Steiner yet. And Dino Steiner's not going to get a drive this afternoon because that car is going nowhere. Let's have a look, see what happened. This is the Hasseröder turn, just went wide, lost traction, spins out into the gravel trap. And those gravel traps are deep. That car is not going anywhere. Now, it might be they try to cover this off with a full course yellow, because a safety car, when the pit window is open, can seriously advantage and disadvantage drivers. At the moment, Konstantin is getting out of the car. The Austrian driver, who is a regular in all sorts of categories, including GT3 racing, now into the pits comes Martin Anderson, also Mark van der Snel. Now, Anderson, a solo driver, so he will stop for the designated period of time, but he won't get out of the car. He is just a solo driver there, doing it all on his own. It's the Molnar Motorsport Duqueine Do 8. Molnar, another legendary team. We have so many legendary teams in the pits. Looking to see what's happened with Lucas Maron, the number 35 car. And I can't see it out on track at the moment. So that is still in the pits. And now the leader comes in, Valentino Catalano, with 1 minute and 3/4 of the pit window still open, not wanting to risk it for one more lap and miss the window. In he comes. The clock starts from pit entry and it stops at pit exit. Valentino Catalano handing over to Robin Rogowski and seeing if they can continue in the lead. They have such a lead at the start of the pit sequence. I can't see anybody jumping past them at this stage in the proceedings. Of course, there's a lot that can go wrong. Tyre changes not allowed when they're into the pit stop. They have a wash and blow dry, make sure the car looks good, but most importantly, make sure they can see out of the window. So that is Martin Anderson just waiting. And it's a bit strange to see a driver into the pits and not to see a driver getting out and another one getting in, but that is the way it works in Prototype Cup Germany. You can see the clock ticking up, and I think it will be a 25-second handicap for Martin Anderson, and that's the pit exit. So he goes, he needs to watch his speed. There's a pit lane speed limit and he needs to try and hit the line at 25. Well, he missed it by half a second. Now we go into full course yellow now that all the drivers have pitted. Catalano is still in the pits and the cars are brought down to a slower pace, so this is going to advantage our race leader coming into this sequence, Robin Rogowski, who will be taken over from Valentino Catalano. Full course yellow, meaning the drivers have to reduce their speed to 80 kilometers an hour. So just as the pit window is closing, the full course yellow is thrown. That's to allow the stricken car to be removed that is currently in the gravel trap. So the 77 car waiting for that minimum time, but with all the other cars running around the circuit at a slower speed, then surely that is going to really advantage Robin Rogowski as he takes over in the seat of the number 77 car. We've still got 22.5 minutes plus 1 lap of this race remaining. crossing the line to break the timing beam. We think it was a 22nd handicap that was awarded to Catalana and Rogowski, and that would be about right. But under full course yellow, not going to get up to speed. The tyres will have cooled down a little, but the gap is probably going to be pretty big once we get back into green flag conditions. So, Lucas Moron is still in the pits. Konstantin Skol is still in the gravel pits. And the race is currently running under what is effectively a caution. Marcus Pommer has taken over the number 15 car from Gary Hauser, the racing experienced Duquesne. Marcus Pommer, 6 times GT Masters winner, very experienced indeed, who has been running very much around the world in the ELMS series. Wanted to get more of a media presence in Germany, and comes back to really fight in what is a German series, and that is a sad sight indeed. The number 35 car that has been shared by Lucas Moron and Elias Sparandio over this weekend looks to be going no further. It's a long way back now anyway, some 4 laps down on the leader. So it looks like the race is over for the number 35 BHK Motorsport Ligier. There's some conversations going on, but certainly any opportunity for a podium and probably points is well out of the window now. The number 3 car being dragged unceremoniously from the gravel trap, and consolation. So yeah, I could tell that was Elias Sparandio who was getting into that. The young driver who is very light and very small, which makes him an ideal candidate to be a racing driver. But sadly, that's not going to be for today. He is a Swiss driver, a 4-time Swiss karting champion, in fact. He first raced just after his 4th birthday. They don't all start young now. Yeah, he test drove Formula 4, but never really got the budget together to be able to carry out a full campaign, and he's found his home here in Prototype Cup Germany. Konstantin Skol, as already mentioned, a seasoned campaigner in GT Masters, GT4, but sadly, his weekend has come to a close, and his focus will now turn towards round 3 at Zandvoort. Can you believe that after Zandvoort we will be halfway through the season? After the pit stops, it is Valentino Catalana who leads by a long way from Oscar Tunyo. Now, it is possible that the race director might bring out a safety car. I would suggest they probably would have done it by now if they are going to. But the timing of that full course yellow really has played into the hands of number 77. It still says Valentino Catalano on the screen, but as far as I'm aware, it is Robin Rogowski who is now at the wheel of that car. Sometimes the transponder has to be switched over manually with the driver's name, and sometimes in all that's going on, it's not always high on the priority list of the team. So it's still saying Catalano, but I think it's Rogowski who's at the wheel of the 77 car. Pit window has now closed, of course. We are running under full course yellow. It is race 4 of a 12-race season, 1/3 of the way through this 6-round season, each round having 2 races. From here we go to Zandvoort at the end of June. And then, the Norris Ring in July. Right, we have notification that the full course yellow has ended, and we will see as the cars cross the line quite what the gap is between first and second. It is the number 77 car, Robin Rogowski and Valentino Catalano, who've been at the wheel of that car, who lead the way. And out the leader comes towards turn 13, and across the line, second place, and a long way back, Oscar Tunyo. So crossing the line, here comes the 77 car. And I dare say we are going to have quite a wait before we see Oscar Tunyo appearing. That full course yellow really playing into the hands of the number 77 car, like they needed any encouragement. Now a country mile ahead. We're still waiting for Oscar Tunyo to cross the line. That is the lead that Valentino Catalana and Robin Rogowski have. And still we wait. It really is a massive gap as a result of that full course yellow. So Tunyo in second place, Marcus Pommer in third, Martin Anderson, he's done well there, up into fourth place. Right, here comes the second place. We're going to be measuring this in days, not seconds. Right, here we go. Across the line he goes, and the gap is 43 seconds. Good heavens, that is half a lap. The lead that Catalano has. He has time to come in and have another pit stop. Catalano / Robin Rogowski, the number 77 car, as I shall refer to it from now on until I have confirmation who's at the wheel. But Oscar Tunyo, without a safety car, any chance of taking the win is now well and truly out of the window. There's also a fair gap back to Marcus Pommer, 4.8 seconds between second and third, and then a gap of 8.9 seconds back to Martin Anderson. So the 1, 2, 3, 4 pretty well spaced out. Our closest battle on the field is Nico Gerler in 7th and Jan Marszałkowski in 8th. 1.2 seconds between them, and then behind them Lawrence Herr in the number 72 car. But it's the number 77 who leads the way, the car that has been campaigned by Robin Rogowski and Valentino Catalano. We believe it is Rogowski at the wheel of the 77 car. And there is Marcus Pommer in third place. The racing experienced Duquesne, and Pommer, well, he's the man to try and close the gap. He knows all there is to know about racing cars and about circulating Oschersleben. Ahead of him is Jakob Erlbacher, who's taken it over from Courtney Crone for Gebhard Motorsport, about to go another lap down to Marcus Pommer, giving plenty of space to him as they head into turn 1. No point in fighting that particular battle today. Around the hotel corner, the corner that is notoriously slippery if you get off the racing line. And Marcus Pommer in a solid third place, but without any dramas and without a safety car, the 1, 2, 3 looking pretty set in stone at the moment. And Martin Anderson, well, if he can finish in fourth place, that will be by far his best result. 10th has been his best so far. The last time we saw him prior to this season, he was driving a Honda Civic in ADAC TCR Germany. He won the championship with room to spare. He was quite dominant in that. Spoke to him on Friday and he said it is an altogether different experience driving an LMP3 car. It is a lightweight car that requires a lot of dependence on aerodynamics. The engine's in a different place. The tyres are very different. It's a whole different discipline. And Martin Anderson, who spent much of the winter rebuilding his house and refurbishing it, has been quite an interesting project to follow on his Instagram page. But he's back to what he loves best now, and that is racing cars, as we see Marcus Pommer come through. Right, this was contact between Jan Marszałkowski and Lawrence Herr. So that happened a bit earlier on. The two cars went spinning. Marszałkowski now in 8th place, Lawrence Herr in 9th place. So a bit of contact between those two cars. It looks like they've both been able to rejoin, kicking up an awful lot of dust. And Jan Marszałkowski will be very frustrated about that, as back into the pits comes Jakob Erlbacher. Now that is not a drive-through penalty or anything, but it looks like he might be coming in to retire, having taken over from Courtney Crone. So Gebhard Motorsport, Ginetta, and it looks as though there might be a problem with that car, forcing him back into the pits. And that is a real shame after a good job from Courtney Crone. They were looking to improve on their best position of 12th place so far, but that is not going to happen in this instant. So we're looking at Nico Gerler trailing Sebastian von Gartzen. Von Gartzen in 6th place. And ahead of him, his teammate is Danny Sufi, also running out on his own. So the fight here, one of the closer battles on the track. It is Sebastian von Gartzen. He's had a mixed weekend as they fight for that 6th place. 6th being the best that he's been able to score, along with Maximilian Hacklander so far this season. And there's Martin Anderson. Now Anderson has been caught by Danny Sufi. Danny Sufi, who last year made his debut in this championship and indeed in LMP3 racing. Did well in the championship, is learning by the lap, and now has his eyes on 4th place. So Danny Sufi having closed in on Martin Anderson. Anderson still getting to grips with the whole concept of LMP3. He's going to have his work cut out to hold off that car for another 12 minutes. Danny Sufi in the Ginetta versus Martin Anderson in the Molnar Racing Duqueine. Conrad versus Molnar. There's a couple of legendary names. Martin Anderson, though, just placing the car in exactly the position he needs to. A little bit of undulation on that part of the circuit as they head towards turn 11, and then braking for a quick right, a quick left, and then a squirt of the power as they head up to turn 13, and then it's around to turn 14, the final turn on the track. You can see them hustling it over that chicane where the camera once resided. I'm pleased we didn't have a cameraman on that. And out they head towards the back straight, as I'd like to call it. Now along the pit straight, Martin Anderson, he has that racing line. Danny Sufi would have liked to have pulled to the right of Martin Anderson and got the inside line into the hotel turn and hung him out to dry, but no opportunity to do that. Martin Anderson putting his experience of racing to great use to hold the number 2 car behind him. They continue their fight for 4th place. The gap, 0.3 of a second, so it's come down a bit in the last lap by about 0.4 and continues to close, but you can see on every corner Danny Sufi is closing in on Martin Anderson. It is the closest fight on the track. So Robin Rogowski, right, the graphic has been updated now, leads from Oscar Tunyo and Marcus Pommer. And then this fight here for 4th place. Here they come once again out towards turn 11. The right, then the left. Now this is where Danny Sufi will want to be up close with Martin Anderson to line him up around 13 and 14. Pick up a slipstream as they come up onto the pit straight. He's still a little way back. He can't quite close up, but he needs to be tucked up under the wing, but he goes wide instead, gets a bit of dirt on his tyres. That drops him back. So Martin Anderson still holds on to that 4th place, and into turn 1 he's looking pretty safe at the moment as Danny Sufi is forced to back off. The gap opens up between them. So the Robin Rogowski car continues to lead the way ahead of Oscar Tunyo and Marcus Pommer, and the 1, 2, 3 very much solid. Martin Anderson in that great battle for 4th place. We go past the Hasseröder turn and out towards turn 4. And now the 22 car under pressure from Nico Gerler, Sebastian von Gartzen with the young Nico Gerler. We saw him in Formula 4 racing for BWT Mucke just a couple of seasons ago. Nico Gerler now hassling von Gartzen as he tries to get close to the Conrad Motorsport car. They go past the chicane. I'm told that the camera and the bollard was called Klaus. We say rest in peace, Klaus. You served us well. And now the remaining bollard is there. We continue to focus on this battle for 6th place with Nico Gerler behind, trailing all the way, trying to find a route past. So difficult. These LMP3 cars, they're wide. They've all got the same engine in them. There's very little between them. Now Nico Gerler out of turn 14 along the pit straight. Is he close enough to pick up a slipstream? I would suggest not. And Sebastian von Gartzen lives to fight another day, or does he? Nico Gerler, is he going to be last of the late breakers? He has a little bit of a think about it, but thinks that discretion is the better part of valor. Sebastian von Gartzen continues in that 6th place. A little over 8 minutes remaining of this race. Our leader still Robin Rogowski and Oscar Tunyo, Marcus Pommer. Now, this is a place on the track you don't normally see overtaking maneuvers out of Hasseröder. And Nico Gerler looking eager, trying to force Sebastian von Gartzen to make a mistake. Out towards turns 4 and 5 and 6, a quick set of corners, but very narrow part of the track. Now it might be out of turn 10 that there is an opportunity to make a bit of a move. We're heading past the chicane once again, but Gerler has dropped back, and I wonder whether he might have a little think about it out of 10 towards 11, but he's a little way back here, but he's going to try and close in on 11, surely. Now Martin Anderson, also under pressure from Danny Sufi. That fourth place, this has been raging on. Now Danny Sufi has closed back in again. Along the pit straight they come. He's still not close enough, and Martin Anderson still holds on to that fourth place. Meanwhile, further back, Jan Moszkowski's found a route past Lawrence Herr for 8th place. So positions are still changing, but that one there, the 4th place, Martin Anderson just doing what he needs to do to hold on to that P4, which would be his best score in this series. Behind is Danny Sufi, then Sebastian von Gartzen, who continues to fend off Nico Gerler. Gerler putting the pressure on. Sebastian von Gartzen doing what he needs to do to hold on, looking to improve on his best ever 6th place. Well, he's going to equal it if things stay as they are. We look on as Gustav Kirilla watches his teammate in the BWT Muka Motorsport Duquesne trying to fight that position away. Gerler and Gustav Kirilla, their best result so far this season has been a 4th place in the season opener. It doesn't look like they're going to match or beat that in this race, but every point counts as they go past the number 12 car once again. Kevin Rorschach very kindly just moving out of the way. And still, we continue in the same position. Still no change of positions, but you just know that one little mistake by Sebastian von Gartzen and Nico Gerler will be through. Nico Gerler, we saw him in ADAC Formula 4. We knew he was going to be good. And look at this. Now he moves to the outside. If he can get it under braking, he can't. Von Gartzen moves across to block him. If he could have just pulled alongside into that corner, he would have had the inside line around the hotel turn. And now Martin Anderson once again under pressure from Danny Sufi. In towards turn 4 they come, and Sufi's not come through. So we look back to the other of the battles. 2 great battles raging on. Sebastian von Gartzen in 6th place, Nico Gerler in 7th. It says 0.362 being the gap, but that gap just changing with every lap. Von Gartzen still on that racing line. Gerler, what can he do with less than 5 minutes plus 1 lap remaining of this race? Over the chicane once again and out of turn 10. And once again, Sebastian von Gartzen just trying, and Danny Sufi, in fact, trying just a little too hard as he tries to get past Martin Anderson. A little bit of dirt on the tyres, and every time you get that dirt on the tyres, it drops you back, and you've got a couple of corners just to clean them up. These slick tyres that pick up and vacuum up all the dirt, and then you've got to go another couple of corners before you can get back on it. So the driver's just exploring the edges of adhesion and using the width of the track. Now here comes Gerler again. He's gone to the inside this time on the corner, but surely he can't make that one stick. And still Von Gartzen holds on to the position. I wondered if Gerler was trying to sell a dummy to Von Gartzen, but he was having none of it, was he? Now up to the Hasseröder turn, a turn that is actually fairly banked. You don't get to see it so much on the screen, and you can see how ragged the number 22, the number 2 car was getting with Danny Sufi at the wheel. You can see he got the back end out once again onto the dirt, and that has given Martin Anderson some real breathing space with a little over 3.5 minutes plus 1 lap, but it won't take long for Danny Sufi to close back in on Martin Anderson. Once again, he is back on the hunt. A drive-through penalty was awarded to car 72, Lawrence Herr, for causing a collision. That would have been the collision with Jan Moszkowski that we saw earlier. So Lawrence Herr not having the best afternoon, a drive-through penalty having been awarded. But our attention on these great battles that are raging on. Just ahead of Jan Moszkowski is this battle here, Sebastian von Gartzen and Nico Gerler. Right, this is where Gerler has been making his move before. He's running out of time. 3 minutes plus 1 lap. Along the pit straight they come. Into turn 1. He looks to the inside. but really there's not a lot he can do, because if he did have the inside line into that corner, he would have to go the very long way around the hotel turn to make that move stick. And with these cars, that is a lot easier said than done. Now into Hasseröder, out of that banked corner and out towards turn 4. And still Von Gartzen holds on. Now Nico Gerler sees a gap on the inside. A mistake from Sebastian Von Gartzen leaves the gap. That was all Nico Gerler needed. And Nico Gerler is through into 6th place. It looked like it was going to happen, and we wondered whether Sebastian Von Gartzen would be able to hang on for the last couple of minutes of the race, but no, Nico Gerler finally monstering him into a mistake, and Nico Gerler is through into 6th place. You can see going deep into the corner, Sebastian Von Gartzen then surrendered that inside line as he hit a bit of curb, under braking, and Nico Gerler sees that gap, dives in. I have to say all credit to Sebastian Von Gartzen for being very fair on Nico Gerler, not trying to close the door. We look again, rest in peace Klaus, he's the one in the middle, and Klaus has gone. I hope we're going to meet Klaus too. I'm told that the camera that we'll have at Zandvoort, his name is the Pope on account of the hat that is on that particular bollard. So Klaus is gone, long live the Pope. Right, here we go again. Nico Gerler opening up the gap from Sebastian Von Gartzen in 6th place. We're into nearly the final minute plus 1 lap of this race. It's Robin Rogowski who leads the way heading around turn 3. So the clock is going to strike 0 probably before he reaches the start-finish line, at least I think it is, which will mean that he will then have 1 more lap after that. Nico Gerler has been a real star, a real entertainer. They were in all sorts of dramas yesterday, ended up in the barrier, looking to make up for it today, along with Gustavo Kirilla. As still, Martin Andersson holds off Danny Sufi. What great driving from both of these young pilots. Martin Andersson, though, he just needs to do this for another 30 seconds plus 1 lap, and he will have that position. It's going to feel like a very long period. I wonder if Danny Sufi's got anything up his sleeve for one last attempt to get past into that 4th place. I'm looking at the clock, I'm looking at the number 77. If it crosses the line now, if Rogowski crosses the line now, before the clock strikes 0, then we're going to get another couple of laps. So look and see what happens. The clock strikes 0, and I think Rogowski is across the line. So it's going to be another couple of laps. Martin Andersson would have really liked it if Rogowski could have backed off and shortened this race by 1 lap, because that would have been 1 less lap that he would have had to have held off Danny Sufi, the very talented American driver who is loving his time in Prototype Cup Germany, has become part of the fixtures and fittings at Conrad Motorsport. But he hasn't counted on Martin Andersson, who is just improving so much. Surely that first podium is imminent for Martin Andersson as he gets to grips with his LMP3 car. He only jumped into the seat for the very first time a couple of days before the first round of the LMP3 Championship at Hockenheim back in April. So he really is learning on the job. Right, where is our race leader? The clock has struck 0, so by my calculations, we've got about another lap and a half for our leaders. Of course, this battle is a long way back. I mean, our leader, we're going to see him in the back of the shot if we wait much longer. Martin Andersson still holds off Danny Sufi. Our race leader now coming round, Robin Rogowski, to cross the line. So he is starting his final lap. And a long way back. This fight continues on for 4th place. Danny Sufi using the curbs, trying everything. He's got to be careful though. You take too much curb, you get the car up in the air, and the back end overtakes the front end, and it's game over. Better to take a 5th place than no place at all. Try telling that to a racing driver. It's the final lap of the race for Robin Rogowski, who is currently up at turn 4. And starting their final lap, Martin Andersson, still holding off Danny Sufi. He's got to do this for 1 more lap. Danny Sufi will be looking, I say starting their lap, they're still about to approach that. Danny Sufi will be throwing everything that he can to get past. Look at Nico Gerler. He has left Sebastian von Gartzen in his wake. And there is our race leader. That is the progress that Robin Rogowski has made. That car has been on another level. It was Xavier Loveras who beat him to the line, well, certainly beat Valentino Catalano to the line at the start of the race, but of course he had to retire. The driver and the combination that has dominated race 4 of the season, it is Robin Rogowski and Valentino Catalano winning by a country mile. We've got a long wait before we see Oscar Tunyo come for that second place, running very much on his own along with Julian Apostolos. But what a win, what an utterly crushing performance from DKR Engineering. Right, here comes second place several days later. Oscar Tunyo and Julian Apostolos. And then in third place, Marcus Pommer. Of course, he took over from Gary Hauser. And there's a wheel over there, so somebody has had a moment, surely. Is that one off a race car? I can see a wheel there. And yes, a wheel off one of the Conrad Motorsport cars. It's Danny Sufi. He's lost a wheel after all that effort, and it doesn't look he's going to make it to the end. Danny Sufi loses positions. He's going to be a non-finisher. He's out just before turn 11. He is 3 corners from home, and the wheel has parted company with the Conrad Motorsport car. Good heavens. That went high, didn't it? So into the catch fencing. Good health and safety procedures here to make sure the catch fencing catches that. And it looks like something's broken on that car, and the wheel has departed. And after all that hard work, Danny Sufi is going to be well, it won't be a non-finisher because he was well ahead of a number of other lapped cars, but certainly the 4th place that he was trying to take from Martin Anderson, well, that's not going to happen. Anderson earns his best result ever in Prototype Cup Germany. That driver there, he's an absolute hero with his pole position lap this morning, taking their first win in Prototype Cup Germany. Robin Rogowski and Valentino Catalano for DKR Engineering. Fantastic drive for these two pilots. Catalano did all that hard work. Stunning job in qualifying. Robin Rogowski, a proper solid drive, taking over the driving duties. Now, you may say they were helped a little bit by the full course yellow and were able to take a pit stop under full course yellow, but they were always going to win this race by a fair distance. 30 seconds was the gap in the end over Oscar Tunyo and Julian Apostolos. They'll be happy because they will be increasing their championship lead with that second place. Marcus Pommer and Gary Hauser, a solid 3rd place. I think they'll be reasonably happy with that too. Martin Anderson, what a great job, scoring his best result ever in Prototype Cup Germany with 4th place. Nico Gerler having been in the wars. Danny Sufi is classified in 6th place despite the non-finish on account of the fact that he had lapped up to that position. So Danny Sufi, not all is not lost. He's only actually lost a couple of places as a result of that. Such was his advantage over Sebastian von Gartzen and Maximilian Hacklander. A mixed weekend for Jan Marszalkowski and Marco Kasich in 8th place, and then 9th place, having served that drive-through penalty, Lawrence Herr and Matthias Luton, with Mark and Max van der Snel, a lively race for them as well, rounding at the top 10. Jakob Erlbacher and Kevin Rorscheit showing as 4 laps down. Traumatic race for them. There is a lovely slow-mo of the Racing Experience car, the Duqueine D08 of Marcus Pommer and Gary Hauser, Oscar Tunyo and Julian Apostolos for Van Olmen by Data Lab, Jorg Van Olmen, always turning out the winning cars. But our winner today, a dominant, crushing display, Robin Rogowski and Valentino Catalano. So into Parc Fermé and onto the podium. Your name's been called, Marcus Pommer and Gary Hauser. Come on, get your badges on. We need you up there. Got to get the right sponsors on display. And Toby Shimon, our announcer, has already called their names. Well, we've got Gary Hauser anyway. You saw the point situation there. So Oscar Tunyo, Julian Apostolos opening it up a little bit further with this second place. Here comes Julian Apostolos and Oscar Tunyo leading the way. Oscar from Colombia, Julian from Switzerland. But it's the German and Polish combination of Valentino Catalano and Robin Rogowski who take the top step of the podium. Wonderful stuff. A dominant display. And you can see how happy they are. They are championship contenders. They've had a 6th, a 2nd, and a 3rd. And taking the trophy win in the trophy category, Matthias Luton, the reigning trophy champion, the defending champion. A mixed race for him. And DKR Engineering taking a trophy as the winning team. Now the national anthem. The national anthem of Luxembourg echoing throughout the Oschersleben Motorsport Arena. The monstrous crowd that have been here as part of the DTM package, enjoying the Prototype Cup Germany. Some beautiful trophies to be presented as well. Yep, that's first place. 1 each. First ever win in Prototype Cup Germany. Sven Schulz. So, Minister for Tourism, the Saxon region, presenting the trophies to our race winners. Second place, Wolfgang Zahn. And Pommer and Hauser also getting the trophy. I dread to think how many trophies Marcus Pommer has collected over the years. You never get sick of taking the trophies home, do you? You just need a wheelbarrow to carry them all around. So, Valentino Catalano, Robin Rogowski in the junior category as well get a trophy. And Matthias Luton in the trophy category also getting a trophy. That's an awful lot of trophies to hand out, isn't it? And of course, DKR Engineering, the well-known Luxembourg team, not far from the Saxon ring actually, getting a trophy for their troubles as well. So we'll pose for photographs, and then the celebrations will commence. It has been thoroughly entertaining. Prototype Cup Germany races 3 and 4 here at the Oschersleben Motorsports Arena in the sunshine. From here, we head to Zandvoort. We're going to the Netherlands, 23rd to the 25th of June. The 19-degree banking in the Netherlands. How good are these cars going to look as they tear around the Zandvoort circuit? Then the street track of the Norris Ring in July, Assen in September, and it all comes to a close in October at the Nürburgring. This is a story that will continue to unfold. This is Prototype Cup Germany. Bye-bye.